Welcome to channel AMAC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Yang, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Today's video, I would like to get into a topic that I have long discussed a long time ago. It's in regards to whether or not you will get a visa as long as you have a job offer. It's a mystery, but in regards to the common practice around the world, usually you will think if you have a job offer, you should be able to get a job related visa, for example, employment sponsored visa. But it's a different story in Australia, and it's a different story between Australia, Canada, US, and UK as well. But it's relevant, similar. However, in compared to a lot of other countries, for example, if you get a job offer in Europe, in Japan, in Asia, well, usually you get a visa. But it's a totally different story in Australia. So today's topic, I would like to discuss this together with you, and you may want to refer back to some of the video talking specifically with explanations on how employment sponsored visa, how they actually work, and you will arrive the same result as what I'm going to tell you today. So today's query should be, do I get a visa if I get a job offer? The straight answer is, well, not quite. Okay, now reason why? Now, you may want to dig a little bit deeper with my further explanation in other video in regards to how I talked about the employment sponsored visa under the program called Temporary Skills Shortage Visa Subclass 4A2. Now, you may notice there is a lot of criteria that you need to get the hurdles and hoop over by clicking on eligibility, and not just how you may meet the eligibility or criteria. There's also eligibility for the sponsor as well, and you can see how complicated it is. So it's not just a company or an employer in Australia, and they simply giving you a job offer saying, look, I'm gonna pay this guy for a certain amount of money for his or her salary. Can I sponsor? Can he get a visa? Now the straight answer is, well, not quite, because first of all, you need to meet how they call it, the standard business sponsorship criteria, which I've talked about in my previous video, and also you need to meet the eligible occupation. Now, what does that mean? That means that a restaurant can only sponsor a restaurant manager or a chef or cook. Okay, you cannot sponsor someone who is under whatever other category, for example, accountant or ICT manager. It just won't fit. You have to fit into that business common sense. And the other thing is, once you offer that job, if we go back to this immigration's website and we go back to the applicant's criteria, you will see this. They will need to have a relevant skill and qualification and have been working in that nominated position or occupation for at least 2 years. Now, a lot of people usually won't even ask. For example, if you go into Australia as a working holiday maker, there's a lot of UK citizens, English travelers, young travelers, or backpackers, or from Germany, from France, arriving Australia, having a working holiday, make a lot of friends, and get some job in agricultural, rural, or perhaps a tourism area, for example, in Cairns, and you've been working there for about 3 months and 6 months, and your boss, the employer, says, great, you have done a good job, I would like to sponsor you. Now, usually the employer wouldn't have much problem, because they will have been validly registered with their business registration and operate business in Australia, and they will usually nominate the occupation they need. They won't buyers on, they knowingly they're a restaurant and they trying to nominate an IT manager. It just doesn't make any sense. But usually the hurdle is the actual worker, the actual backpacker, or perhaps that's gonna be you. You've been working there, fine, no problem. But if we talk about visa specifically, it's gonna go back to whether you have the right background and work experiences there. So for example, just giving you an example case study, there has been a lot of backpackers traveling from Europe or UK coming to Australia and work in numbers of different tourism industry. For example, a tour attraction, a track trace or surfing, diving business around the coast of Australia, which is fruition. You can make a lot of money there. But then when the employer says, look, I'm happy to sponsor you, they're usually having work there as, interest or hobby. But if we go back to see if they have the relevant qualification, perhaps not. Right? And have they been working in that sort of area for at least 2 years? I mean, that's going to be full time. Perhaps not. And then that will result with the answer to the first question that we trying to solve the query with. That's, if I get a job offer, do I get a visa? Well, they can give you a job offer, but you probably won't even meet the visa requirement. And that is the straight answer. There's a lot of people talking on the forum whether or not they can actually get the visa. In Australia, it's probably a little bit harder. And plus, since July 2023, they have raised the bar of the minimum income. It has to be above 70,000. So even if you meet the criteria and you have the right experiences, if your boss only offer you for about 60,000, 55,000, bad luck. You won't even meet the visa mark there. So that is where the problem is. So you got to really think about, and that's where professional advice comes, because in Australia, the visa regulation is very tight and very, very complex. And that is why we have been doing this channel with video explanation for over 4 years. Now, last but not least, I would like to talk about another thing, which is under the Migration Act section. Well, let me just magnify that a little bit. Okay, section 245AS. Now, why is it important? It's related to the employment sponsor visa. As the title reads, and this is actually in the law, so it looks really messy, but I'll read it out and explain to you. It said prohibition on offering, providing a benefit in return or occurrence of sponsorship related to the event. Okay, and this is the same as the previous one with section 245AR, prohibition of asking and receiving benefit in return for the occurrence of sponsorship related event. Now, what does that all mean? That means they are applicant or perhaps employer trying to make money just to provide a sponsorship. Now, that is actually in the criminal code. It's not the right thing to do. It's not lawful. It's actually unlawful. And let's have a read on that one. So you got to make sure that if somebody trying to offer or you trying to see to pay your way into getting a sponsorship visa, it's a criminal conduct. So you can see down here, it says offense, and the maximum, there's a civil penalty there as well, imprisonment of 2 years or 360 penalty points. Now, how much is that? It's not just 360 bucks. If we're looking into ASIC's website, a penalty point is around $13 per 1 unit. So what does that mean? That means 313 times by 360, and the maximum fine can be $112,680. So you got to be very, very careful not getting to this kind of loophole. And I know there have been people trying to offer stuff like this, but again, it's not lawful. So please do not get into those kind of deals. It's always in the gray zone or perhaps in the dark zone. Even though you probably get a success visa, they can always come back and hunt you down. So make sure you don't do the wrong things. And that's for the video today. Should you have more question query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below. I'll see you next video. Goodbye.